Hello everyone. I'm super excited to have you all here, and thank you for joining for another webinar. This time it's going to be a sort of like a special event. We have a guest in our webinar. His name is Gustavo, and he's the person that I go to when I have any LinkedIn related questions. And I know that many of you are on LinkedIn, are super active there. And actually, I started using LinkedIn in the past year more than I have ever used in the past. And I know that many people effectively use LinkedIn in order to get jobs, to simply meet other people, get connections. And as you know, in our professional career, the more people we know, the better we can find opportunities in the market, find jobs, find collaborations, and so on. So I think LinkedIn is like an amazing platform. So this is why for this webinar, I invited Gustavo to tell us more about LinkedIn and how we can use it as Scrum professionals, especially how we can really get more value from LinkedIn. So just to give you an idea, what are you doing today? So in the first part of the webinar, I'm gonna give it over to Gus, and gonna do a presentation, gonna explain a few tips on how to get better with LinkedIn. And then on the second part of the webinar, I will give it over to you. So we're gonna have the live Q&A section. And as you know, if you've been before to one of my webinars, this is probably the most interesting part of the webinar because you are in control. You have the possibility of asking questions. So what I'll be asking you to do is just before we get started with the Q&A section, somewhere inside Zoom, you'll find the possibility of raising your hand. And when you raise your hand, I'll know that you want to ask a question, and I will unmute you, and then you will be able to ask a question. Ideally today, if you can ask a LinkedIn-related question or something that Gustavo has presented to us, that would be great. But if you really have like a Scrum question that it continues to bug you and doesn't let you, I'll be more than happy to answer Scrum questions as well. But since we have a special guest today, it would be really, really amazing if we could, discuss a bit about LinkedIn and Scrum and how that works for all of us. And with that being said, I will hand it over to Gus. And Gus, I'll ask you to introduce yourself and tell us about your experience and a bit why are you today here?
Thank you, Val. And thank you, Valentine, and everyone for attending the webinar. Before anything, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I am Gustavo Escobar, and I am a LinkedIn consultant. I help companies do lead generation through LinkedIn and personal branding for executives. I am also an online instructor with probably one of the most popular LinkedIn courses, several LinkedIn courses on Udemy. But I don't want to bore you with stuff about me. I just wanted you to know a little bit so that you know why I'm teaching this. So with that being said about me, I do want to tell you a little bit about LinkedIn before we move on to actionable tips that you can use. And one of the things is that often people ask me, hey, is LinkedIn still a good place to find a job? I heard that too many people are using it. It's not as popular anymore, or stuff like that. And it's absolutely relevant. LinkedIn, it is one of the favorite tools for HR and recruiters. You can find 700 million users on LinkedIn, and it grows at a super fast rate. But the most important thing that in terms of using LinkedIn to find a job, or just to position yourself as an expert in front of potential employers or clients, if you are a Scrum Master consultant, is that, just so that you get an idea, LinkedIn revenue for this year is going to be around $8 billion. And out of those $8 billion, 50 to 70% will come from their talent solutions. This is what they sell, the premium services and job posting ads that they sell to HR. And the reason why I'm telling you this is just so that you get an idea that how important LinkedIn is for HR and recruiters. They believe that LinkedIn is the place where they can find great talent, and considering that you are the talent, and since you've taken Val's courses, you are great talent, then LinkedIn is the place for you to be found by HR. So yes, LinkedIn is an amazing place to get a job. And even if you're not looking for a job, it is still great because they will, you might have your perfect job right now. You might not be looking for a job, but you never know what can happen in the future. You can get opportunity. Someone can reach out to you with a better opportunity, or you might need to look for one in 2 months or a year or two, whatever. So it's always good to have a good LinkedIn profile. Okay. Another question that people ask me is, well, Gus, but what if I'm looking for a job? Yes, but I'm not using LinkedIn. I'm applying through other websites. Do I really need to optimize my LinkedIn profile? And the answer is yes, because since you're applying for qualified jobs, what happens is that once you go through the second or third round of interviews, HR or the people that are deciding who they hire, they're going to look at your LinkedIn profile. It's not going to be a deal breaker, but when they have 2 or 3 candidates and they don't know who to go with, they will start using anything they can as filters. And your LinkedIn profile, the thing that pushes the needle to your side. So definitely try to optimize your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. And especially in regards to what you said previously, now that many of us are stuck in our homes, there are no conferences where we meet people or anything like that. I think it's like super important. I noticed it like right from the beginning of the year that I've been getting a lot of messages on LinkedIn, a lot of people trying to reach out to me on LinkedIn, or either students or other people who have learned something about me or noticed that somebody else mentioned me in one of their posts and just reach out and say, hey, I just wanted to say hi and want to stay in touch. I'm interested in what you're posting. I think it's simply the way to practically be in contact with people. What we had before, we were just chatting at a coffee on a conference and exchanging ideas with other people. I think this is what LinkedIn has become now in 2020 and probably in 2021 as well.
Right. So actually, now that you mentioned that, I always mention in my trainings that LinkedIn is like a networking event for any industry, but it's a networking event that never ends. So if you go to a Scrum Master networking event, you're going to be talking to people, and you can choose if you want to be in a corner without doing anything, you want to be active and start relating, like making relationships and whatnot, and talking to people. LinkedIn is the same. And obviously, if you go to a live networking event and you start building connections, then you'll have more opportunities. Same thing for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So for LinkedIn, when it comes to finding a job or building your personal brand, there is 3 steps for success. One of them is optimize your profile. The second one is to build your network. And the third one, obviously this one is only if you're looking for a job, is to use LinkedIn Jobs Portal, which is amazing for job seeking opportunities. Today, we're going to talk about the first one, the optimize your profile. Honestly, I could be talking about LinkedIn for hours, like I do on my courses, but we have a limited time, and I want to give you some actionable tips that you can implement right away. After the webinar, you can go to your LinkedIn profile and start taking action on optimizing your profile. So we're going to talk about the first step. And when it comes to, don't worry, we're gonna move to LinkedIn soon. We're not going to be looking just at the slides. When it comes to optimizing your profile, there is tons of things that you can do I mean, if you have gone to your LinkedIn profile and see what to optimize, it can feel a little bit daunting because there's so many things. But there are 7 important things that, if anything, these are the ones that you should do, which is public profile. Well, I'll explain what is that. Picture, headline, open to work, about section, the experience section, and the recommendations. So let's jump to LinkedIn. The very first thing is the public profile. So if you go to your LinkedIn profile, you'll see this link here. Click on it. It says edit public profile. And there are 2 things here. One of them is really important, but I'll give this as an extra tip. If you go to edit your custom URL, this is not that important, but since I'm here, I'll share it. Click in this pencil and you can edit your URL, customize it so that instead of looking like this, you see that it has a bunch of numbers. If you go to your LinkedIn profile and you have not done customize your URL, it will have something like this. You can just optimize it so that it has your name only. In my case, it has Gus Escobar because Gustavo Escobar was taken. Almost everybody calls me Gus, so that's fine. But here is the important part. If you scroll down, you'll see your profile's public visibility. You want to make sure this is on. You want to make sure that profile photo is public, meaning everyone can see it. And you want to make sure that all of this is in show, not in hide, okay? Everything to the right. Most likely, by default, this will be like this, but sometimes people will start playing with it when they first join LinkedIn and it is in some other place. This is very important because if you're optimizing your LinkedIn profile and you're adding all this content and then people can see it, they can see your summary or your education or whatnot, then what's the point, right? If there is no section here where you can add whatever, all the crimes that you have committed, which that might you want to hide, but you know, I would say if you are a criminal, then you might as well not add that content on LinkedIn. The rest you can add here. So that's very important. Sorry,
and
you wanted to say?
What I noticed, some people get the address wrong to their LinkedIn profile. So it's probably also worth that if you're posting a link to your LinkedIn profile somewhere, either on your website or on other social media platforms or wherever you will be posting that link, make sure that the link works. Sometimes some websites allow you the possibility to add LinkedIn and ask only like for the page name, and people add like the entire address. So it's linkedin.com/LinkedIn HTTP, something that doesn't work. And then that's going to be a disappointment for someone who tries to visit your profile.
That's true, yes. So make sure you go to your profile and you select this. Because often people send me, since I have a LinkedIn course, often people send me their LinkedIn URL and they send me just the feed, it says LinkedIn-feed or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, this part here, your public profile, your profile's public visibility. No, sorry, this one. Profile photo. You want it public and whatnot. Then this leads me to the photo. And here some people say, why do I need to show my picture? That is unfair, blah, 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 in resumes, this and that. Well, these are LinkedIn rules. If you want to play in LinkedIn, play by the rules. The thing is that profiles with pictures, they get 14 times more clicks, more views than profiles without pictures. Let me show you. If you do a quick Scrum Master search, I get almost 1.5 million results.
Wow.
If I'm a recruiter and I'm looking for a Scrum Master for my company, this is too many. And this happens, by the way, this happens with every profession. It doesn't matter if it's Scrum Master or what. If you are looking for something, you'll find a lot of results. So HR, they need to start doing, they need to filter these as much as they can. They go through all these filters, but even with that, they will still get 5,000 or 7,000 results. So they start implementing their own filters. Like, for example, they see here 3 things: photo, name, and the headline. If they see, for example, instead of Alisa or Carlisle, they see A.C, they will just discard that one. Because that's a person that she wants to be private. She doesn't want to show her name. So most chances are her profile won't be optimized. They don't have time for that. They will discard it.
Okay.
They see one without the photo. Same thing. They will discard it because they say chances are it's not optimized. If we go to that one, we'll see 37 connections, no photo, no experience.
So this is someone who's not using LinkedIn to the full potential. It's like I created a LinkedIn profile at one point and I totally forget it. Probably if you send me a message on LinkedIn, I will not even see it.
Exactly. So if you only have 10 results here, then yeah, sure, you'll contact everyone, but that doesn't happen. They have thousands of results. And if they do this, if they go to profiles like this one, 10 or 20 times a day, by the end of the month, that's a lot of time. It's 10, 20 minutes each day that were wasted. So they're trying to filter it as much as they can. And the other one is the headline, so those 3 things are very important so that people, HR, recruiters, click in your profile. In terms of the picture, I'm going to show you something pretty fast. As you can see, is mid-waist, shoulders up. This one is a really good picture. Derek here has a great smile, seems like a nice person to work with. Caleb is not such a good picture. It's kind of dark. He's wearing a tuxedo. Probably this is before a wedding. I'm not sure if these are sunglasses or what. Not a great picture. It's not going to be decisive, but every detail counts. Remember that normally when you move to the last round of an interview, or if you already have a great job, but they're looking for whatever, VP of something, and they are comparing you with someone else, every detail counts.
Yeah.
And you're competing with people that are already very qualified. They're all great. And HR is just looking, or the CEO is just looking for something that gives them a little bit more confidence about you. This picture is fine because she's smiling, but she has these sunglasses here, is taken in a car. I don't want to go long on this, but I just want to say, it doesn't need to be professional, but you can ask someone to take a picture of you with just a wall on the back or something that doesn't distract, like don't have cars or nature or stuff like that. Nature is cool, but it has to be not distracting.
Yeah.
And just smiling, like for example, this picture here, she seems like, to me, it seems like a very fun person. If I was hiring, I would think she is a fun person to work with.
Yeah. It's the impression that you get when you're looking at a picture. So it's also, I think, for many people, like you're looking at a picture, and especially if you haven't met that person, it's the only thing that you can make like a mental connection, because if nobody can remembers like tons and tons of names, but I think we as human beings have a very good visual memory. We can easily recognize, if we're looking back, oh, this is the lady that was really nicely smiling. So I can, if I search again for a profile, it's going to be like the image that will pop out. And I think additionally, in terms of like taking care of your profile, just in general, if you invest some time into doing that, I think it really shows that you didn't you paid attention to that. You're not if you're asked to do a job in a company, but you cannot really take care of your own LinkedIn profile to make sure that it looks professional. How can they expect that maybe the emails that you will be writing are professional, that your conduct in meetings or whatever happens within the company will be like at a level of quality, at a level of detail that really shows that you really pay attention to detail. You're not just putting some things out there and then it's enough.
That's correct. Yeah. One last thing about the picture, by the way, you see how white I look because of the lighting? Make sure that you don't look like that, or they'll think that you're a vampire or something. Sorry about that. It's the lighting in my room. But anyways, if you look in the picture of Caleb, he has this symbol here, open to work. That's another one of the bullet points that we have in the presentation. And this is very useful if you're looking for a job. Very useful. So it tells recruiters that you're open to work. And this is very important because when they are looking for people, they know that if you have this symbol, the chances of you responding to their emails will increase significantly. So HR recruiters, they are using in job websites, you're the one taking action, you apply, and then they go through your resume. In LinkedIn, two things happen. One is that, but the other one is that HR and recruiters, they actually take action and they go look for people like you, Scrum Masters, project managers, whatever, and they are searching for you. If they see that you have this symbol, then they know that there is more options of you responding to their emails. If they write Alisa, for example, she doesn't have this symbol, she might answer, she might not. So it is important because they send dozens of emails a week, sometimes even more. So they just want to make sure that they get as many responses as possible. For this symbol, what you have to do is you go to your profile and right here, show recruiters you're open to work, click on it. This is very intuitive, so I'm not going to explain it, but I want to show you something. If you click here, this will pop up. And this is important because if you do not have a job right now, then sure, I suggest that you click all LinkedIn members so that everybody sees that you're looking for a job. But if you have a job and you don't want the people in your company to know that you're looking for a job, LinkedIn offers you this option, recruiters only. And it says, we take steps to not share recruiters at your company that you're looking for a job, but they cannot guarantee it. So I would actually suggest don't use open to work because they cannot guarantee it. If someone in your company sees it, you might get in trouble. If it's not a problem, if your company knows that you're looking for a job, then go and use this one. But just be careful with this. Make sure that you think through which one is the one for you. Yeah. And if you go to Caleb profile, you'll see that this is what recruiters will see. They click here. It says that he's open to work. And here we can see the titles that he's looking for. I mean, what positions he's looking for and the locations, what type of job. So it's helpful, very helpful for recruiters. The next thing is the headline. And in the headline, we want to make sure that we add keywords. So LinkedIn is like a search engine where you can, like a Google kind of thing, but just inside of LinkedIn, where you can search for people, companies, articles, stuff. You want to make sure that in your profile, you include keywords that HR or recruiters, CEOs, whatever, will look for when they are looking for people with your abilities. And a Scrum Master, as you can see, is the one for you, obviously, but you can also add other stuff like process management or Kamal here. She has these certifications as well. Alisa, all these certifications and project management. So it is a good way to, the headline is a good way to add keywords. Don't add them just like crazy. It has to have some sense. Make sure that you add a Scrum Master or whatever your keywords are through your profile in an organic way. Don't just add Scrum Master, Scrum Master, Scrum Master, Scrum Master, because then LinkedIn will penalize you. But, you know, like you can add it in different bullet points and skills and whatnot. And not only Scrum Master, other keywords as well that are related to you.
So practically, like any important certifications that someone has would be a good idea if you know that recruiters may be looking for that because they are so easy to remember, so easy to search for, just to have them in a headline and yeah, for search purposes essentially.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we move on to the about section, and here the about section and the experience. I'm going to talk about both of them together because it's pretty much the same. As you can see, Derek here doesn't have an about section, and he has experience, but there is no information about it. So that's a no-no. If we go to Caleb, he has a small about section. This is like a cover letter. So while this is fine, I would suggest that you take advantage of this to use it as another cover letter. I don't know, every country is different. In Spain, for example, I live in the United States, but I'm from Spain. In Spain, we don't use cover letters when we apply to a job. It's just the resume. But in United States, you do the resume and a cover letter, which is a one-page where you say something about you, your goals, what can you bring to the company, and whatnot. If in your country you do not use cover letters, this is where you can add that. How you bring value to your company. Don't make it to the company you will be working in. Don't make it just about you. Make it about what value you bring to the people that will hire you. Okay? How can you help them? How can you help that company grow or whatever? Obviously, you can talk about yourself as well, but take advantage of this. In my opinion, this is too short, but
so
okay.
what would be like an appropriate size for the about? Can you also?
We'll see one in a, we'll see that in a,
we'll see
in a
one.
little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. If we move to his experience, now we see that he has plenty of information here. It's full of bullet points, and this is good. It's a little bit too long for my taste, but there is no right size in this. In the experience part, how long you want to make it is how long it should be. Just one thing. I haven't read this, and I hope that he's adding here valuable content, meaning achievements. Don't add content just to add keywords. Like, don't say, oh, for example, Allegro. I don't know what company is that, but Allegro is one of the 5 top Scrum whatever something, and he's not saying anything about him. Don't do that. Talk about you, about what you achieve, about what you can bring to that company and whatnot. But don't add content just to add it, because recruiters will not read all of this. They will scan it. They might read 2 or 3 bullet points in each one. And if what they read are the ones that were just fillers, then you wasted an opportunity. So make sure that you can make this as long as you want, but it has to be valuable information for the recruiter. If we move to Kamal, here we see something that I think is very interesting. Still too short for me, and it's too simplistic, but she has a bunch of certifications. She add them here. It's an easy way for the recruiter to see right away in what things she's qualified. So I like that part.
Okay.
But
even if there's like this certification set section like at the lower part of the profile, you think it's still a good idea to put it in about?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's a great option to add it here. And then in experience, she doesn't have anything. If we move to Alisa, now we see a good profile. Okay. So this is a good about section. Is long enough. You can also make it a little longer, but this is good enough. Don't make it that much longer. It's visually friendly. You can see these bullet points here. I will make it a little bit more visually friendly, like another paragraph here, another paragraph, like spaces. Maybe you can add like subtitles using caps or using a bunch of bullet points together, and then whatever skills and more bullet points. So the reason to make it visually friendly is just a matter of basically sales copy. I know that you're not in sales, you're a Scrum Master, but sales copy applies in reality for anything. Well, you are selling yourself. You are trying to, people won't read this. The more visually friendly it is, the more likely they are to read more of it. But this is great. And she has something here at the end that I really like, which is technology. These are the programs or whatever the technology she knows how to use. This is an easy way and an organic way for you to add a bunch of keywords. Again, don't go crazy and say, oh man, I have a great idea. I'm going to copy I'm going to make this. I'm going to put it in my about page, in my first job, in my second job, in my third job, and don't do that. Don't do that. Just once is no. If we scroll down to her experience, we'll see same thing. She has a bunch of bullet points. It's well done. I don't know why she didn't add anything in her first job, in her actual job, but that's a mistake, but it doesn't matter. She has a bunch of stuff. This is good. Try to do something like this, like her profile, but with also, if you are working, make sure to add something here as well. And then the last part that we were going to talk about was the the recommendations. She does not have any direct, neither.
So practically other people that would like personally endorse or recommend her for
correct
whatever position or business relationship that has been in with other people. Yeah.
Right. So as you can see, Caleb has 3 recommendations, and this is really, really good for human resources, for recruiters. They will look at this because they want to know what other people say about you. You can say a bunch of great stuff about you, but what are other people saying about you is important. Now you say, but Gus, I haven't worked before. I just got my certification because I took Val's course and it was amazing and I passed the exam, but I don't have any experience. In that case, what do you do? Just ask your friends. Ask friends to give, not to lie, but to give a recommendation about your ethics, how you are, your personality, something that, like, ask them, hey, if this company was interviewing me for, Google is interviewing me for a position, but they want me to give the name of 3 friends to ask them about me, what would you say? So that is what they can put here. And you might think that it's not important, but it is, because the reality is that the majority of the people don't have good recommendations. So try to get some here. If you have 5, 6, 7 years of experience, then try to reach out to your bosses, ex-bosses, colleagues, people that you manage, people that you were managed by, clients, whatever it is, and try to get some recommendations here. It will be super useful. It talks about your quality of professional and whatnot.
Actually, this is something that I started doing with my profile as well. And if you do it from time to time, it's also not taking a lot of time. It's just a few minutes invested, and you never know. So probably the sooner that you get and start like gathering recommendations, the easier it will be like overall in your career. Probably if you ask for someone who you haven't been in contact for like 5 to 10 years and you ask, hey, remember when we did that project right after college? That was amazing. Would you like to write me a recommendation? Probably the chances like, who are you once again is, yeah, don't you remember me? So probably it does make sense to like all the time sort of like keep it like in the back of your head. And once you complete a project, or once you're after a few years in an organization, just ask people who you have like a good personal relationship to leave your recommendation, just in case. You never know when you will need it.
Yeah, don't force it. Don't go asking. Like, for example, sometimes I ask some of my students for recommendations because they have gone through my courses. But sometimes some of my students ask me for a recommendation. And unfortunately, I don't know a lot of my students. They take a course of mine, and I have no experience with what they do, didn't do. All I know is that they took my course, and that it says that they finished it. But I don't really know if they, like, how much they learn and implement. So it's difficult for me to give a recommendation. All I can say is, whatever, Marcos took my class, and that's not a recommendation. That is really useless for HR. So don't put people in awkward situations. As like Val says, to people that you have good relationship that will be able to give a valuable recommendation, because it's not about the number of recommendations that you have, it's about the quality of them. If you have 20 recommendations and they all say things like, yes, I know Valentine, or Valentine took my course, or he is tall, then it's worthless. You need good recommendations.
Yeah.
With that being said, I went through all the actionable tips, but I want to share one last thing. If you go to your profile, you see this part here, add profile section. Click on it, and you have all this stuff. So much stuff that you can update, optimize in your profile. Don't feel disencouraged for that. Just do the seven that I told you about, and with time, in the next 3 weeks, 1 month, whatever, little by little, baby steps, you go here, click on the first one, click on the second one, and start doing, not by order, start doing it as you feel, the ones that you feel like doing. Once a couple ones, you should definitely use license and certifications. That should take no time, and it's a great way to add keywords to your profile, but also to tell HR how you're qualified. And skills. Skills is basically a section where LinkedIn allows you to add keywords. So just go there and start adding. You can add up to 50 skills. Oh. With that being said, yeah, that's it. We can move to the
Q&A, right? To asking questions. Well, I mean, to be honest, after watching this this great presentation that you gave, I feel the urge to run to my LinkedIn profile and start making sure everything is up to date, making sure that everything is working, as expected. And yeah, it's probably one of the things that we need to take care all the time to make sure that everything is updated. So, Gus, thank you very much for all your tips and for looking at the profiles. I think they're very, very good examples, and we all have something to do in terms of that.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we are moving towards the second part of the webinar. And now in the second part of the webinar, this is your time, guys. So the way it works is inside Zoom, you'll find the option of raising your hand. And when you raise your hand, I'll be able to see that, and I will unmute you so that you can directly ask a live question. In the past, it has worked much better than just handling questions in the chat, because we can then start having a conversation. It's not like asking a question and then you have to run away. We can start a conversation, try to understand a bit what's your background, maybe especially in terms of LinkedIn and what Gus has presented. What maybe you can also share, what is your experience with LinkedIn so far? Maybe we even have a few success stories between us. Just share ideas, how you benefited from LinkedIn, why are you using LinkedIn altogether? Maybe some other tips that Gus hasn't mentioned before. So that would be great. So raise your hand. This is the way that we're gonna conduct now the rest of the webinar in the Q&A section. But just before we have someone doing that, there was one question here in the group chat. Someone having some microphone issues, so I'm gonna make an exception here. So instead of practically the question is my normal job title would be something like consultant. I put something, let's say, a bit bolder or out of the ordinary, like makes deals work, builds better businesses. And the question in this case is, do you think this is a good approach for the LinkedIn profile?
So, yes, when the one thing that you need to consider when you're not looking for a job, when you are looking for clients, your title, your headline has to be something that sends a message to your clients. So, for example, in my case, it says, do you want your sales team to generate leads and sales on LinkedIn? Schedule your advanced LinkedIn workshop today. It's very salesy, but it sends a clear message. People know right away what I do. I could say LinkedIn consultant, but like you say, consultant is an overused word, and it can mean 1,000 things. So you need to think of who do I help, how do I help them, with which problem I help them, and how do I solve that problem. So who, what is the problem, what is the solution, and try to combine that in your headline. For example, my LinkedIn course is particularly about LinkedIn for sales. And one thing that I recommend is never put if you are using LinkedIn for sales or to generate business opportunities. And I'm sorry, this question was
regarding the headline.
You might think, oh, but I'm not in sales, I'm not selling. If you're a consultant, if you are a coach, if you work with companies, you are selling. You might not be a salesperson, but you are selling. And you need to have a headline that, like you say in your question, that conveys a message to your leads, to your potential clients, and they need to know right away when they read it, they need to know how do you help them with, they have a problem and you help them solve that problem. So yes, it's a great option. Better than saying a Scrum Master consultant, because that's great. Oh, one thing that I would add is that what was your title? Makes deals work, builds better. So if you are a Scrum Master and you help them with something related with Scrum, then you should add that keyword in your title somehow. Like I have LinkedIn in my title. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that's a great and interesting way of looking at it, and most likely you will stand out from other people who are just making a list of all the certifications or whatever they did in the past and just put it there. It sort of like makes every other profile look the same. So it is different in that regard. So
you're welcome.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing. Guys, once again, friendly reminder, if you want to ask a question, let's start having a conversation here. And the best way to do that is by raising your hand. And I'm gonna unmute you and let's start a conversation. If you can introduce yourself, Sarah, I would like to learn more about you and how was overall the presentation today? How are you using LinkedIn?
Hi. Thank you so much, first of all, Valentin, for arranging for this. In terms of my journey to being a Scrum Master, I am at step number 1. That is, I'm going through your course in Udemy right now.
Okay.
And that's how I got to know about this. So thank you very much. And in LinkedIn, I am trying to step by step build my profile, but I am not so active as such in LinkedIn. And my question for today was, when is it appropriate to ask somebody for a recommendation, or is it appropriate at all?
Great question. So first, I will say, you made a comment which wasn't part of your question, but you made a comment that I want to comment on that. You're not active on LinkedIn. For everyone, it doesn't matter if you're not active on LinkedIn or if you know that you're not going to be active on LinkedIn. You might think, I don't want to be active on LinkedIn. That's great. It doesn't take away from the fact that optimizing your LinkedIn profile will still be useful. Optimize it and then just go away and make sure that you receive the notifications from LinkedIn when someone writes to you, because that way, if an HR or recruiter writes to you, you will be able to know. That being said, when is a good time to ask for a recommendation? Anytime. If you are asking to the people that Valentine said, to the people that you have relationships with, anytime. If one of my friends writes me, and let's say it's a good friend that I have not talked to in 2 years, because maybe it's not from my closest group of friends, but it's someone that I had a good relationship with and whatnot. If that person writes me and say, "Hey, Gus, can you write a recommendation for me? I'm looking for a job and whatnot." If I like the person, I'm not going to say, "Oh my God, this guy, 2 years without saying hello, and he writes me to ask for a recommendation. What kind of person is that?" I won't. Yes, sure, there might be some people that is like that. The majority won't. Yeah. If you think that you have, maybe you didn't have a great relation with that person. Maybe it was a colleague from work or an ex-boss, and the relationship wasn't that profound, and it's been many years. Maybe in that case, you want to warm up a little bit the relationship before you ask for a recommendation. And the way you do that is just by sending an email. "Hey, Michael, how's it going? How are you doing? I saw your profile. Let's connect here on LinkedIn." If you're already connected, then just, I came across your profile. It's been a long time. How are you doing? Blah, 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 this and that. And then that person probably will answer. And after that, you could just send another message saying, "Hey, Michael, would it be, I'm looking for a job, I'm looking for this or whatever, try to get a better position. Would it be fine for you if I send you a recommendation request?" And if they say yes, then you just send the request.
Oh, that's a great question, and also like a great tip. In the end, you're all the time trying to keep like a connection, or to bring like the sort of like back the memories, or that you work together and try to like not just, "Hey, I need this recommendation and can you send it to me," and that, but try to rebuild up, maybe also like ask a few questions. How are things going, in my field, or what I'm doing right now? Maybe I got laid off and this is why I'm looking for a recommendation, or yeah. Everyone knows that we're going through tough times, so people, I'm sure that if they would be able to help you with something, they would do that. It's not like,
great point.
It costs something to write a recommendation.
Great point. I think that right now, actually, people will be more willing to give recommendations because they know that people need it. And also, something very important. Before, Valentine was saying that something about I don't remember exactly how you said it, but the point is, you should, even if you're not looking for a job now, even if you're not planning on doing anything special if you can start asking for the recommendations now, it's better, because what you don't want is to be in a situation 6 months from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, where you need to look for a job, but on top of that, you need to do this. When the moment comes to have to look for a job, it's better if you already have done all of this while you were in a relaxed state where you didn't need to rush it. So better to get this done. And one last tip in relationship with the recommendations that I forgot, and it's super helpful tip. So take note of this. Don't just ask, when you ask for the recommendation, don't just say, LinkedIn will say something like, if you go to request a recommendation, it will say, "Hey, Valentine, would you give me a recommendation?" And then you send that. Don't send that. Write something personal. "Hey, Valentine, thank you for saying yes to give me a recommendation. If this helps, just in case it helps, I know how difficult it is to write a recommendation. So if this helps, maybe you can talk about how was working with me as a colleague, when we work at whatever ABC, what do you think about my performance? Give them hints of how you want the recommendation to go. So think about what would you like them to say, and then give them questions that will hint, that will direct them towards those answers. Don't say answer these questions, but say here are some questions to help you build the recommendation.
Yeah, it's definitely important to cover things like that, because otherwise, especially if that person is like not very used to giving recommendations, or they wouldn't maybe write something like, I think, Gus is a nice guy, but I don't know, maybe it will not be exactly what you have expected in terms of having on your profile. And what I noticed also is that if you get a recommendation where you have like the impression of, this is not exactly what I wanted to have, or maybe the wording is not very favorable to me, I think you also have the possibility of sort of like rejecting that
or asking for editing,
or asking for another version.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to another question. We have also Prashant. Hopefully I got your name right.
Yeah.
Hi, and welcome to the show. Can you tell us a few words about you, if that would be possible, and how are you using LinkedIn generally?
Sure. My name is Prashant, and I've been working in the Agile world from last 5 years as a Scrum Master and coach. And recently I signed up for your PSM course on Udemy.
Thank you very much.
I'm very regularly using LinkedIn, like, browsing it, seeing what people are posting. And I've not done a job search soon, but soon I would be. So I have two questions here. My first question is, I have seen people using it more like a social forum where they are sharing a lot of articles and lot of information. Is that important when you do a job search? Is recruiter look at that, how you are contributing? And my other question is, like, how can we have a profile ranked up when some recruiter is looking for a candidate? Is premium services provided by LinkedIn help in that?
Okay, good questions. So thank you. So in terms of the first one, being active on LinkedIn, sharing content and whatnot, you don't have to, but if you're looking for a job and a recruiter sees that you are sharing content related to your industry, to your profession, it's a plus. So it's not going to be a deal breaker. Like most of the things on LinkedIn, it's not a deal breaker. You could have a terrible profile on LinkedIn or non-existent on LinkedIn, and that doesn't mean that you won't have a job. You could have a job and not be on LinkedIn, and a great job. But when we're searching for jobs, everything that we can add, or for clients, everything that we can add helps. So being active on LinkedIn, sharing articles that are related to your profession, that is useful, because it kind of shows that you are up to date, that you are actively searching, that you're putting effort into looking for a job, not just crossing your fingers and doing hope job searching, which is I'll apply to 100 jobs and then hopefully I'll get a job. But it's, you're actually doing stuff to try to stand out. So yes, I think it's a great thing to do. And for example, when it comes to sales, and the reason why I relate it is to sales is because it's pretty similar. Looking for a job, you are selling yourself. When it comes to sales, sharing content on LinkedIn, there's many ways of content that you can share. The simplest one is just third-party articles. And the reason why this is good is because you appear in the feed of the potential clients, or in this case, of the potential recruiters, if you are connected with them. And the more you appear, the more times they'll see your name, or CEOs that might want to hire you and whatnot. So yes, it is good. And forgive me, Prashant, what was the second question?
So my second question was like, how can we get our profile ranked up in the search, and in doing that, would the premium services provided by LinkedIn help?
So to rank in the searches, you need two things. One is keywords. You need to have the right keywords in your profile. So, for example, I imagine that if you are not a LinkedIn consultant, you probably have no LinkedIn in your profile, the word LinkedIn consultant or LinkedIn lead generation or stuff like that. So if someone does a search for that, you will not show up. But if you are in Agile, Scrum Master, whatever, what are the keywords they're going to look for? You need to make sure that your profile has content that organically includes all those keywords. That's number one. Number two, which is part of the step 2 of the success on LinkedIn that we saw at the very beginning, is building your network. You need to connect with recruiters and potential employers. If you are first degree, second degree, you have more options of appearing in the searches of these people. So the more recruiters you have in your network as first degree or second degree connections, the more likely you're going to show up. So if, let's say, remember guys that we saw this profile of someone that had 37 connections, the reason why she showed up in my search is because she is my second degree connection, if I recall correctly. But or the other reason is because she lives in Folsom, which is like 10 minutes away from where I live. So LinkedIn takes that into account as well. But if you do a search, there is no way she will show up in your search. No way. Because with 37 connections, no way. So the more connections you have, the more likely you will appear in searches of other people. And in terms of the premium service, that won't necessarily help you, but I believe that LinkedIn promotes with their algorithm the people that have premium services, just because it just makes sense. They want the people that is paying, they want them to be hired as soon as possible, because they want you to tell the world, oh yes, I was with Oyo, I paid for a premium, and now it took me 2 months or 1 month. Also, with the premium service, you do get some extra tips in the job when you apply for a job. They give you some of the keywords that the company is looking for.
Right. So that are already like a few very, very interesting ideas that you shared. And just a reminder for everyone, this is the live Q&A part of the webinar. This is where you raise your hand, you ask your questions. We have here Gus as a special guest. This is Gus is the LinkedIn expert. He really knows what he's talking about. He has been doing this for years and has given us a lot of valuable tips. So if you have like any questions, this is like the moment to take advantage of it. We're still taking questions, and we now have a son wanting to ask a question. Go ahead.
Yep.
Can you tell us a few words about you?
Sure. Thank you. I have about 20 years experience in IT and business consulting, and I've run my own business for a while. One of the challenges that I have regularly is two issues. Number one is our role is essentially supplier. So we're very careful about what information we disclose about the type of activities that we're up to, just because it's a very competitive environment. So are there any tips there in terms of striking the balance between moving from that role to promoting yourself when you're looking for a job? And the second one too is that with a number of years experience, maybe if you rewind 10, 15 years ago, normally when you're looking for a job, you might even create entirely different resumes that highlight different aspects of your experience that hone in particularly to one, to the qualifications for a particular role. One challenge that I've seen with LinkedIn is that basically you have all of this stuff here, and you don't really have the opportunity to fine tune or highlight. And, you know, if you have that much experience, you can get very muddled. And I'm not sure how, can you comment on how that helps you or harms you? You know, in the LinkedIn world to, you know, some strategies that might help you in resolving that issue. And the third, just one,
let's take them one by one. I almost forgot the first one, to be honest.
Okay, that's okay. So the third one, just before I forget, and it's very similar, is that how do you deal with side jobs? Like essentially, if you have a side company or something like that that you created, is it a different profile? That's it. We can recap as you like. Sorry about that.
Let me start with the second question and the third one, because I do not remember the first one. But sorry, it's not that I remember. I couldn't hear you very well overall. But let me start with the second one.
Thank you.
And thank you for your questions. So yes, you're right. Unfortunately, with LinkedIn, there is no good way for you to create multiple resumes. So I understand what you're saying too, because for a while, years ago, I did look for a job, and my experience has been I run my company since I was early 20s. So my experience had to do with e-learning, with training, with managing sales teams, with managing customer success teams, with managing professors, and then I had different kind of companies, and I've done different things as well. But there is unfortunately not a great way for you to create a LinkedIn profile that is for Scrum Master, for software developer, for this and that. There is no way. You can create on LinkedIn, for when you apply for jobs, different resumes. LinkedIn allows you to create different resumes, but it's not the one that is not the LinkedIn profile. It's not what we see. You can upload different or create it there on LinkedIn, different resumes, and then when you apply to a job, you can say send this resume or send this other. But you cannot create multiple profiles that are focused on software development, Scrum Master, guitar player, or whatnot. So unfortunately, there is no way to escape that.
I imagine what can be useful is like if you, let's say in the past you have been a guitar player and that was like your entire life, but after that you sort of like decided to move on to, I don't know, and you're right now searching for, or maybe you already have a Scrum Master job, or you went more into project management. And maybe, and you know that your next job will be, or you want to be a Scrum Master, or you want to get a specific title, or you have like a very narrow kind of a jobs that you want to do. You're not, this idea of like, I can do everything. It's typically not a good idea. It's be like, I want to be a Scrum Master. This is what I'm trying to do right now. So then when you have like a clearly defined goal in terms of what's going to be your next job, I imagine that you can also tailor your profile so that it highlights the kind of qualities that you will be looking in a Scrum Master. Of course, you had in the past other jobs, but maybe for those jobs, you can go in your profile and highlight like what kind of skills were helpful. You know, say, oh, I was actively involved in like conflict resolutions, or I had a lot of skills where I was communicating with people a lot, or finding solutions to different problems. So these are like kind of things that you can still use in your profile if you know like what you're searching for.
That's right. Yeah.
I think you wanted to answer the third question, or you still had something and I interrupted?
Yeah, I wanted to answer the third question, which that one I already forgot.
So it's about side jobs. So if you can, it's more or less like, how do you deal if you have like you're on the day job, you're a Scrum Master, but in the afternoons you're a DJ. How do you like combine the two lives so that you don't have the Scrum Master DJ title on LinkedIn?
So what you could do is you can create a company page. But of course, let's be like completely clear. If you have a job and you're on LinkedIn and you also have a side job or side business and you want to use LinkedIn for that, there is no hiding it. The people in your company will see it. So as long as your employer is fine with it, then shouldn't be a problem. But if otherwise, it will be a problem. There is, you could create, so you go to different profiles and you will see how some people have like 2 or 3 or 4 present jobs like they are doing right now. And one of them, they are Scrum Master, and in the other one, they are CEO, and in the other one, they are co-founder or something like that. And that happens particularly a lot here in the Bay Area where I live, because here in United States, and particularly in California, Silicon Valley, all this area, there is a very entrepreneurship mentality. And even if you're working cleaning bathrooms and toilets in McDonald's, chances are that 1 out of 2 toilet cleaner people that are cleaning toilets in McDonald's, they want to build their company. They have a side job. They have something like that. It's amazing. Like everyone has an entrepreneurial mentality here. So if that's okay, if you can have those several positions, then that's the way to go. If your employer is going to say, what is this? You have other positions here. You're working in multiple things, or you have your own company. You're going to leave us or something like that. Then you need to be careful. But yeah, the way to go would be that. Unfortunately, in terms of your headline and your about section, you need to choose one or the other. You need to choose to go with your actual job or guitar player. And I know, sorry, I know that you did not say a guitar player, but I used that example. But you need to choose one or the other for the headline. There's no other way to go around it. In terms of getting clients, if your side job is like getting clients, what you can do is connect with a bunch of people that could be your ideal client, and then start building a relationship with them through LinkedIn messages or through leaving comments on whatever they're posting, for example, and try to bring attention to you. Was that it? No, we're missing one question, right?
I think we're still missing one question, and I think we'll have to ask Asan to hear that question again, because the audio wasn't really
Right.
good.
All right. Yes, thank you. So the first question, I guess, was essentially, do you have any tips? I know we talk a lot about promoting ourselves, promoting our experience and whatnot, but when you're in a highly competitive environment, can you comment on finding that line between promoting yourself in terms of your experience that you're describing in meaningful ways, and also maybe preserving that privacy? I'm not sure if you understand.
Maybe. Let me answer, and hopefully this will answer the question.
Yeah.
So in terms of your LinkedIn profile, the profile per se, the reality is that most people won't read that much of it. They'll do a search. Let's say they're looking for a Scrum Master, they'll do a search, and even if they're looking for a potential employee or a consultant, they'll do a search for Scrum Master, they'll start looking at different profiles, and right away they will start discarding some. The ones that they decide not to discard, they move to the next step, which is scroll down to the About section and the Experience section. And they will take a look to both of them really quickly. And if there is nothing of value there, like some of the profiles we saw that they didn't have anything, or one of them was missing, they will discard it. If they have value there, then they'll scan that. And they will keep looking at the profile, at other things. Like, for example, there is a section that we didn't talk about today, which is called feature, which in which you can feature articles or projects that you've done or stuff. That is something very valuable for HR as well. Unfortunately, we couldn't talk about all the things that were valuable, but because right away it's a way to see some of what you've done, projects you participated or whatnot. But the reality is that whatever you put there, people are not going to be reading it. Most people won't read it. It's more than anything a SEO thing and a way to tell the recruiters, yes, I have my information here. When someone decides to read it, it's because they are already thinking about hiring you as an employee or as a consultant or as a provider or whatever. Otherwise, people do not go, like, sure, some people might, but people do not go out there and read information. If you're concerned in terms of how social media has all of our information and every time more and more, and now LinkedIn offers us the possibility of including our name and say Gustavo Escobar, and now they have the way I pronounce my name and whatnot. If that's the concern, yeah, well, we're fucked with that. They have everything. There is no other way to answer. They have everything, and yes, it's a concern. I don't know, Hassan, did I answer the question?
Yes, you did aspects of it. And maybe just another clarification. So if you're working for a company that's in the role of supplier, you don't necessarily want to promote too much information about what exactly you're doing. But you leave that company now, and after you decide you're going to add additional information or maybe change your profile, are there any penalizations that occur in terms of LinkedIn algorithms or anything like that? No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Great.
And I would not necessarily, sorry, I don't know if I misunderstood, but which information would you delete? Your experience in the company that you were working? Because
yeah, I would start to maybe augment that information after, closer to the end of the employment with that company.
Okay, but it's not like you will remove it out of your profile, because normally experience is helpful, and unless there is like a particularly good reason, like, oh yes, I used to work with the Sicilian mafia, and now that I want to work with the police, maybe it's not a good idea. I don't know, but
right.
But if you used to work in, like if it's a normal experience, it's normally always brings value. Now, if you're using your about section as a way to communicate with potential clients of your actual company, in that case, yes, it definitely makes it. Like, for example, for when I train sales teams, one of the things that we talk about is using the about section as a sales letter to the potential clients. In that case, as soon as that salesperson leaves that company, they need to change the about section because they're not selling that product anymore. I don't know. I hope this helps, Hassan.
Thank you very much.
Please ask it.
Well, that definitely has been a very, very interesting session. I feel that I've really learned a lot of things from you guys, and it has been a pleasure having you here today. And to all of you who have participated, either by listening or by actively asking questions, I hope that was useful as well. I posted here some links in the group chat. If you want to get in touch with Gus, I posted his LinkedIn profile, so definitely send him a connection request. Tell him from where did you find him. And I also added his Udemy profile page. He's also an instructor on Udemy. So if you want to learn more about LinkedIn, get more into how you can really properly use LinkedIn at its full potential, have a look at some of his courses. I know that he also has a website, so there's also information there. And honestly, what I particularly like is that Gus is also on YouTube, and he posts some very useful videos from time to time on YouTube that I definitely enjoy watching. General, like, good to know things, not just about LinkedIn. He also knows other things. So for that reason, I'm always subscribed to his channel and looking into, saying what's new and what else I can learn. So I think in general, if all of us can extend our circle of knowledge, not only focus on one particular things, but try to increase our network, try to get with people who, like Gus, he's a LinkedIn expert. He has nothing to do with Scrum and nothing to do with Scrum Master and everything that we're doing here in the course and normally in this webinar. But still, there are so many topics that are connected. And as I said, hopefully this webinar has been useful for everyone. Gus, again, thank you for joining, and this has been really great having you. And to all of you who have participated today, please let me know in the group chat if you liked this format of having a guest. Let me know if it was useful with LinkedIn. Maybe we'll invite Gus here for another webinar if he has time. He's a busy person, and he was so generous to give up from his busy schedule today and join us for this webinar to answer our questions. So just let me know in the group chat how it went and if we should do this again. Guys, see you next time at another webinar.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.